Senator McGrath.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. Mr Acting Deputy President, I'm going to be controversial tonight because I want to defend Campbell Newman and the Liberal National Party of government of 2012 to 2015 in Queensland. Right from its election in March 2012, the Liberal National Party government in Queensland made the tough but necessary decisions needed to stabilise the budget after years of Labor waste and mismanagement. Not just years, decades of Labor waste and mismanagement. The Liberal National Party reduced the rampant growth in spending, while at the same time increasing funding for the frontline services that Queenslanders want in health, in education, transport and law and order. The Liberal National Party government in Queensland kept state taxes amongst the lowest in Australia and put downward pressure on the cost of living. The Liberal National Party froze car registration and reduced public transport fares by 5% across the state for the first time in history. The party reduced Labor's $7,000 stamp duty whack on the family home and provided a one-off water rebate to South East Queensland residents. For the business community, the Liberal National Party abolished the waste tax, forced down the cost of workers' compensation premiums and reduced the burden of payroll tax, helping to boost jobs and economic growth. Through this disciplined economic management, the Liberal National Party has left Queensland on track for a surplus in 2015-2016 of $862 million, the first surplus in a decade. On the economic front, the Liberal National Party has left the state on a track to higher economic growth, with a nation-leading projected economic growth of 5.75% in 2015-2016. But most importantly, this government, the Liberal National Party government of Queensland, halted Labor's debt train at $80 billion, $5 billion less than the former Labor government had planned, meaning less money on interest payments for overseas banks and more money for public services. Then there are the achievements in health. The Liberal National Party, under the stewardship of Health Minister Lawrence Springborg, delivered the best elective surgery waiting times in the nation. Patients treated at emergency departments within 4 hours went from 63% to 73%. The Liberal National Party obliterated the long-wait public dental waiting list from 62,500 to 0, and also ensured that, unlike under Labor, Queensland's nurses and doctors actually got paid. And the story in education is just as good, where John Paul Langbrook, the Education Minister, saw NAPLAN testing results improve in years 3 and 5, with 90% of children reaching the minimum national standard. 130 independent public schools were funded across the state, enabling principals, teachers and parents to decide themselves how best to meet the educational needs of their children. And the $300 million maintenance backlog in public schools left by Labor was all but eliminated. And in law and order, the Liberal National Party, unlike Labor, did not shy away from tackling the thugs and hooligans terrorising Queensland's families and businesses. Over 800 extra police were put on the beat, supported by new technology, more helicopters and, more importantly, stronger laws. And the statistics speak for themselves. For the year ended October 2014, car thefts were down 21%, break-ins were down 20%, robberies were down 24% and assaults were down 4%. And on the Gold Coast, the results were stronger, with robberies down a whopping 43%. And thank you, Senator O'Sullivan. It is amazing in terms of what the Liberal National Party did to make Queensland a safer place for Queensland families. And the Liberal National Party's Safe Night Out strategy, rather than pursuing the Labor's approach, the nanny state tactics or shutting down pubs and clubs, targeted the genuine miscreants, the few troublemakers who were spoiling the fun for everyone else. The Liberal National Party also tore up Labor's tangled mess of vegetation management restrictions, which were brought in to please inner-city, green voting, preferencing latte sippers, rather than looking after the farmers on the land. This has saved up to 86 years in productive time and saved hundreds of thousands of dollars for farmers across the state. And the highly popular Royalties for the Regions program, almost $500 million, delivered real improvements to infrastructure and local families for regional communities across the state. Mr Acting Deputy President, these are the irrefutable facts, regardless of what the naysayers and political vampires would have us all believe. The Liberal National Party government was a good government that delivered real results for Queensland. So therefore, it's very sad to think, Mr Acting Deputy President, what the future has in store for my home state now that everything old is new again, Labor government is in power. Anastasia Palaszczuk and Labor have no plans for Queensland. They went to the last election hoping no one would notice, but they have no plans to continue to grow the Queensland economy and deal with their legacy from before 2012. Their whole approach to the election campaign was just to send a message. They had no plans for the future. All they wanted to do was send a message. Because they have no plans to pay down the rest of their $80 billion worth of debt. They have no plans to invest in the infrastructure needs of my growing state. They have no plans to reduce taxes for families and businesses. They have no plans for transport, for the Bruce Highway, for the Brisbane CBD bus and train tunnel project, for the duplication of the rail line between Birrabara and Landsborough. They have no plans to deal with the outlaw motorcycle gangs. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake there. They do have a plan. They want to hold an inquiry. They have no plans for the four pillars of Queensland's economy, for agriculture, construction, mining and tourism, which have been relegated to subcategories in mangled mega ministries. Instead, we know what Labor's plan is. They've got one plan, and that is to be re-elected in 3 years' time, but actually in 2 years' time, because Labor are going to sit there for 2 years and do absolutely nothing. They're not going to make the tough decisions that need to be made to secure Queensland's future. They're going to sit there and they'll call an early election. The average term of a Labor government in Queensland is 2 years and 4 months. They'll call an early election and they'll try and sneak back into power because they've made no decisions, because they've played the politics, but they have not governed. They've not governed for the sake of Queensland. But if you sort of scratch it a little bit, you know who was actually running Queensland. It's the union barons. The union barons are back in charge because there's going to be a government for the union paymasters, for the Queensland Council of Unions, for United Voice, for the thuggish electrical trades union, each of which had their representatives at the swearing-in of the candidate government house. Labor's union backers are back in town, ladies and senators, through you, Mr Acting Deputy President. They chose the cabinet.
Senator McGrath, this is highly unusual to have interjections during an adjournment speech. I would ask that the senators be heard in silence. Senator McGrath, order.
You know what the first act, Mr Acting Deputy President, of this Labor government is? The first act of this new Labor government in Queensland. It's not about approving a mining project for jobs. It's not about approving some infrastructure for jobs. It's nothing like that. The first act of this new Labor government, this new nirvana in Queensland, is to shift Labor Day. It's to shift Labor Day from October back to May, because that's what the union paymasters want. So they get their public holiday in May. So they get their public holiday in May. So that's what it's all about. It is all about rewarding the union paymasters.
Senator McGrath, resume your seat. Senator McGrath.
Thank you. I think, Mr Acting Deputy President, the Labor senators' office are a little bit sensitive because they know it's true. They know it's true that the union paymasters in Queensland are back in charge. But I must give special mention tonight to the man who made it all possible, Peter Wellington, the state member for Nicklin. Peter Wellington's only ever delivered one thing for Nicklin, and Nicklin is on the Sunshine Coast where I come from. He has only ever delivered Labor governments for Nicklin. He's never delivered better infrastructure, he's never delivered better roads or schools, he's never delivered jobs for Nambour. He delivered Peter Beattie power in 1998, and guess what? Now he's delivered Labor power again in 2015. The future independent Speaker of the Queensland Parliament is no such thing. Now, look, with the minute that I have remaining as Acting Deputy President, I'd like to say to our party members across Queensland, while the result was disappointing, I'd like to thank the 14,000 party members for their work and for the many supporters who worked so hard over the past 3 years. Our party does not have the money of Labor and the unions. Our party does not have their paid workforce. Our party is a party of volunteers. Our party is funded by raffles. Our party is funded by the mums and dads. And Senator O'Sullivan, our party is funded by very good treasurers like Senator O'Sullivan. And what I'd like to say is we've got a lot of hard work ahead of us, but it is our job, it's our duty to deliver responsible government and deliver freedom to Queensland, whether it's in 3 years' time or in 2 years and 4 months' time. Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President.
Thank you, Senator McGrath.